3PGC webinar today. The 3PGC, or Three Principles Global Community, is a nonprofit organization that's committed to bringing an understanding of the three principles to people throughout the world. If you want to learn more about 3PGC, you can look on their website at 3pgc.org. Today we have Erika Bugbee with us. I love the topic. I'm just going to read it again. How the mind is like a self-cleaning oven. I think that's just great. And Erika Bugbee is a partner at Pramsky & Associates and co-creator of the company's online learning division. Erika's parents are both longtime teachers of the principles, so she was raised in the principles and learned them herself as a teenager at 13. He has a master's degree in psychology and joined Pramsky & Associates in 1999. Erika is married and has two kids, 11 and 14 years old. So Erika, thank you so much for being with us today, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Hey, thank you, Bonnie. And I forgot to mention this, but really appreciate you doing these webinars. This is such a huge service. When I look at how much traffic this website for this organization gets, this is like gold that you're doing these. Thank you for joining me. For whoever's out there, was so excited about what I was doing today, yesterday, and then this morning I got up and got this whole like flood of ideas. So anyway, I'm looking forward to this. This topic is particularly, and the way I'm talking about it is particularly captivating to me right now, because there's what I'm seeing in people. I don't know, it's everywhere I look. I think it's just what's on my eyeball right now. Is how common it is for people to be in their lives feeling like they're missing something. And it's, it's always a little bit different what people feel like they're missing. But for example, somebody who feels like they're they want a career change. They want a career track that's more fulfilling. Maybe they want to teach these principles. We get a lot of those people who they know what they want to do. They know there's fulfillment there for them. They don't know how to get there. They don't know if they have what it takes. They don't know if it's going to work financially. So, and they, or people who, want a relationship, want to share their life with someone, and they're not, but everybody's different. But the feeling is the same, and that people are living in a feeling of lacking or a feeling of deficit. And that's their story. That's what they get up every day and live. And it's interesting because, a lot of the things that we struggle with are kind of, they're things we can problem solve and figure out, or they're things that resolve themselves. I know a lot of my parenting struggles or relationship struggles are things that people that they evolve on their own. Your kids grow out of it, or something shifts, but there's oftentimes is something. People will have that certain areas of life where you can't move it along, and it won't evolve. You can't you're not any closer to what you wanted by your own assessment. You're not any closer to what you feel like you're missing than you were a year ago, or maybe 5 years ago, or maybe 30 years ago. If you feel like, you want, if you feel like you want to feel good enough, or you want to get your life to where you feel like you're proud of it. Sometimes that people chase that for their lives. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about that. And I want to talk about it in, maybe in a different way than what you're used to thinking about it. But I'm hoping you'll stick with me enough to consider what I'm saying. So what's interesting is that in the absence, human beings have going for them that I think is remarkable is they're kind of actually what nature has going for it is the drive to kind of adapt and stabilize and get your balance back, which I think is remarkable. And somebody does not have to have be courageous or particularly hardy or robust, and yet they still everybody has the drive to stabilize. So when people are struggling with something, they have a propensity to fix it and to address it so that they can get away from those feelings. So if people feel like somebody feels like, well, I need to make this career change happen. This is what I really want to do, and this is the perfect career for me. And they think about how great it would be, how they're if they could pull off what they want, if they could find a way to it, it would get rid of it would solve a bunch of problems. It would how they think about how much better it would be, how hard everything else is because of this missing piece, that everything somehow leads back to that one thing. And so they live in kind of a network of, they live in that snarl, and everything is connected to it. So it's something they're thinking about constantly. And because people don't like the discomfort, because everybody wants the peace of mind that they feel like that, everybody wants peace of mind. Everybody wants to feel comfortable in their own skin. People feel like that when they look out at life, it looks like that's what's missing. And if they had that, all the feelings that they're looking for and all the feelings they're trying to get away from would resolve. And because we're, nature is kind of set to survive, we kind of keep at it to get that feeling, the feelings that we're looking for, and to get out of the suffering and the struggle and the tension. So there's sort of a, your dial is set, like on a washing machine, like your dial is set to like go after something, to solve something. And that's what people's lives become about. Become about that one thing that they feel like they're missing. And I'm so struck by how common that is. And it doesn't matter who the person is and whether they have what the person next to them wants. There's something else they feel like they need. It's about something else. Now, what people also have in common is that fixing it, the propensity to fix it, becomes the focal point for people. It becomes what their life is about, and that, well, for two reasons really, is that what people are lacking becomes kind of their soundtrack. Partly because they don't know what to do. They really want it. They feel like they can be doing something to get it. They're not sure what that is, or they have ideas, but they're doing those. So if they're looking for a career change, they're looking for, well, what form is that going to take? Who can I talk to? Who can connect me? Who can help me get there? Or what do I need inside of myself? So they're trying to essentially solve the problem, or they're busy feeling bad about themselves because they can't get there, feeling bad about their lives and what it looks like now that they don't like. They're busy wanting what other people have and comparing themselves to people. People spend a lot of time doing that. So the lacking becomes, like I said, becomes a soundtrack. But what's interesting is that what people don't see is that the fact, well, there's two things people don't see. One is that people don't see that struggle, the suffering, the feelings that you may be trying to get away from are built into life. They're like a, they're like a feature. They're built into your vehicle, like a car. Struggle is a part of the natural ebb and flow of nature. So your psychology, your thoughts, your, the emotions that you have are fluid, they're alive, they're like, your psychology is just another extension of, like your physiology. You have a psychology, you have a life in here, like you have a life in here. There's all these systems at work, and they're constantly moving and changing, and there's an ebb and a flow. And you're in your kind of level of wellness inside of you physically, and there's an ebb and a flow in your kind of level of well-being inside of your mind. And that ebb and flow, the ebb is what we don't like, is a fixed thing. It's a fixed thing, like colds are a fixed thing, allergies are a fixed thing. It's something that you can't stop and change. And what that means is that it doesn't, if you stepped back away from yourself and you looked at humanity, what you would see is the ebb and flow is a constant in the people that have exactly what you're lacking, what you feel like you're missing. There's just as much of an ebb and a flow in the people who have the job that you want, the people who have a relationship or a family or whatever it is. The people that everybody has the feelings of lacking, of not being adequate, not being good enough, no matter what they have. Everybody has a feeling that they're alone, that there's nobody in their corner with them. People that are married, in relationships that have families, everyone has those feelings because those feelings are a part of the human condition. The ebb and flow of psychology is part of the human condition. And people don't, they have it so made up in their minds that a different arrangement within their life out here, outside of them, would bring them a set of feelings that does not have the ones in it that they don't like. People have that, come up with that on their own. It's because it looks like that. But it only looks like that because that's what you've come up with so far. You have a set of things that you're missing, and your mind will cooperate with that, and it'll look like that one answer, finding somebody, getting the right career, you have an idea of what that will do for the rest of your life. That will take certain things away and make you feel a certain way because that's what your mind has come up with. It's an idea that you have. And if you step away from your life and you look at life in general, you look at people in general, you'll see that that's not really how it works. You can't, first of all, and maybe this is the bad news, you can't take that away. Just because you get into a relationship doesn't mean that you're not going to feel lonely. Doesn't mean that you're not going to feel unworthy, or that a lot of people, plenty of people in relationships, probably a lot of you listening to this, that are like, well, I don't know if my life, I'm guessing you have the same amount of struggle you had before you were with the person that you're with. And if you look around, there's a lot of people, relationships are messy, and there's a lot of people that are in relationships. It's not like they have it together any more than anybody else. And my relationship's no different. Everybody's is that way. It's kind of a moving target, and there's an ebb and a flow to that department. It's just as messy as if all of those people were on their own. It's also true that it doesn't matter what job you're in, or what career you're doing. If there's just as much potential for fulfillment, regardless of what you're doing for a living, is what we see in people who land the career of their dreams. They may have just a different set of struggles. A lot of them overlap, but you see the same. You take your psychology with you. You can't get away from it because it's attached to your shoulders. It doesn't, the feeling of lacking in a way is our best attempt to figure out what to do to get away from the feelings. But the feeling of that you're missing something, and that chasing something and getting it is the answer, it's a lie, really. It's just your best attempt at a solution. And sometimes people would rather chase something than feel the horror of the feelings that they feel. It doesn't mean that that's going to bring you a life where you have all the feelings you want and you can get away from the discomfort. And now the good news, maybe you're waiting for that, I'm not sure. But the good news about the ebb and the flow and the way that the human mind works, the good news about humanity and what people are also missing, is that the ebb and flow brings everybody the feelings that they want. And it's independent of whether you have what you think you are missing. And this is where, you'll have to see this for yourself. I can't talk you into it. Just saying this isn't going to do it for you, but you have to really look that the feelings that people want, the peace of mind, the feeling comfortable, the relief, the forgetting about themselves and just being in life, being present and engaged, those feelings happen all the time, exactly the way that you are, without that department that you think needs an overhaul, getting an overhaul, without, your life being arranged the way that you want. Exactly the way that you are, your feelings ebb and flow, and the flow is where those feelings live. It's a part of nature. It's, like I said in the title of this course, it's your mind will self-clean. You will feel like you have a completely clean life. Your psychology will clean itself. And it will clean itself independent of your setup. In the same way that people who are in relationships or who have the job that you want, you do see them in the feelings you're looking for, but they're ebb and flowing. Maybe they visit there and they, live down in the trenches of struggle, but we don't notice that. We notice that they're having the feelings that we want, and we don't see that we have those feelings because people aren't interested in that. or they don't realize that they have it. They don't consider it. It's not part of what they're looking for. There was this great thing that went around Facebook the other day that was a kind of it was a post about photographers and people. They took a guy and they brought in 6 photographers and they said, okay, let me give you the backstory on this guy. I want you to do a series of portraits on him. And they told him all a different story. So one guy, they said, all right, he's an ex-con. He just got out of jail. Really nasty guy. They told another guy, well, here's this guy's a humanitarian and he, has given everything he has to help the poor. Anyway, they gave them all different stories, and then they did their photo shoots and they looked at the pictures of this guy and you saw completely different angles. They just found different qualities in this guy and captured them in their photos. So you saw 6 really different portrayals of this guy, and his expressions absolutely captured what they felt like was the truth of this person. And I don't know who it was. I tried to find the author of this, so I didn't say this quote. So I'm not ripping this off. Somebody said it, but I can't give them credit because I'm not sure who. That said that a photograph has more to do with the person behind the camera than what's in front of it. And that, to me, is exactly the problem for people in terms of their relationship to life and their understanding of what's happening. Is people don't really understand that what you're looking at when you're looking out at your life is your snapshot of what you think your life is. And if you've made up the idea that the struggle is because you're missing something, that's what your life is about. And your mind will put its stamp of approval on anything that you conclude. So if you concluded that all the people out there who have the job that you want, who are doing, work that you consider to be fulfilling and meaningful, those are the happy people, that's what you'll see. You won't notice the ebb and flow in those people. And the thing is that what you don't see in those moments, once you conclude that, and that becomes what your life is about, that you can get away from the ebb and the flow, the feelings you don't like, and that there's an answer outside of yourself. What you don't see in that snapshot is all the other feelings that you feel every single day, whether you notice it or not. The feelings that you are chasing, and the relief and the feeling good enough, the feeling comfortable in your own skin, are also part of the picture. But you don't see it because you're not looking for it. Just like the qualities in the guy who was subject to that photo, they were only interested in the part that felt like what this guy was about. Well, you have an idea. I have an idea of what my life is about. And yet, like one of my really good friends who's single, I am certain that she has an idea of what she brings to the table in the dating department, what she offers as a person and what she's missing. And I am absolutely certain that she does not see all the things she has going for her that I see and that everybody around her sees. But it doesn't matter. That's not what the person thought. Our own thoughts and our own snapshot is so compelling because your thoughts tell you, here's what you offer and here's what you're missing. And you can't get what you want without the features that you think you need, you'll find yourself stuck or self-conscious or lacking in confidence. You don't feel like you can put yourself out there because of what you think you're missing and what you think you have to offer. So if you think that you have to be, perky and social and, a certain size and shape, and you don't have those features, you're going to live in a feeling of lacking. And it doesn't matter that the people around you, it doesn't matter that those things are not what matter. So when I look at my friend who's single, I see amazing qualities that are the essence of what people are looking for. And when I see people who are chasing something in their career, the qualities that they're looking for, that the career has the answer to, are just as in the cards, no matter what their job is. Sense of meaning and fulfillment, it doesn't, those feelings are arbitrary. And that's what the reason there's a disconnect for people, and the reason that we talk about these principles is so much is so that people can see, I have my mind made up about what my truth is, and I'm chasing what I think the solution is, and what, not just me, but everybody on these webinars, everybody that teaches these principles are trying to point people toward, well, I'm not sure you know what the problem is. I'm not sure within the framework of what you're looking at. Okay, I could see how you would come up with that solution, but if you step back farther, you may be asking yourself a very different question. And the question, what I'm suggesting here is, never mind how my life is arranged. Let me learn about the feelings that I'm interested in. That's what's, there's nothing really eclipsing what I'm looking, there's really nothing in the way of what I'm looking for. Step back far enough to see that even in the way that your life is arranged, you have moments where you're close to people and moments where you enjoy the work that you're doing. It doesn't matter what kind of work you're in, where you feel great as is, exactly the way that you are, unmarried and in life, just exactly as you are, and you get the feelings that you're looking for within the life that you have. That if that's possible, first of all, it's happening every day. Maybe not to the amount that you want. Maybe it doesn't sustain more than a fraction of a second before you're back to worrying or feeling, shame or whatever. But if it's possible at all, then it means that it's within reach, within the package that you have right now. That's why I call it a self-cleaning oven, is that you don't have to do anything to get those feelings. It's simply something that you have to be more interested in the fact that those feelings are built into the human experience and that they live within you. They don't live out there. They're they're not tied to the kind of life you think you need in order to have those feelings, because it doesn't work that way. It doesn't. Life is not, or psychology, it's like a free agent. It's not tied to anything but the thoughts that you have. One of the things that I thought was so interesting is Einstein, when he sat down to write, an autobiography. So he was reflecting back on his childhood, and he said, in fact, I'm gonna mess it up because it was such a cool quote. So he talked about how he remembered the day that his dad showed him a compass, and he was turning it around and around, and just he was struck by the fact that this needle would point kind of insistently north. Just was really struck by that. And he said, this experience made a deep and lasting impression on me, that something deeply hidden had to be behind things. And that's what we're pointing to, is to see that the life that we have inside of us has everything that we're looking for. Separate, we are not bound by the life that we live when we look around at. We're not bound by that life. Life outside of us and how we're arranged, it can't nothing that all the feelings that we're living in are ours to have. We can't be limited by the kind of life that we have, because what's inside of us is completely free and is essentially unhooked from any other system outside of us. It's a living, breathing, complete system all by itself, which is why for every person you find that has the feelings that you're looking for, that has the life that you have, there's a person that has exactly that life and lives in a feeling of lacking. Because answers, what we're looking for, lives inside of us. So the only thing that can take you out of what you're looking for and that can get you the feelings that you're looking for is thought. What's happening inside of your mind. And that's something that, at least for myself, what's helped me with these, where the principles have helped me is in the way that I relate to the things that I would struggle with. So when I remember the day when I was a teenager, and I kind of went over to the dark side, and I was really sensitive. I just was so emotional, and things looked the future looked so bad to me. Everything. It just looked like all there was problems. There was people that didn't understand that were making my life hard, and there was all these ways that I was kind of subpar, and everywhere I looked, it reminded me of how awful things were, and it looked like they were just going to get worse in the future. I didn't really see any relief, and the greatest thing happened. I don't know what I don't. I was listening to, I was at my friend's house, and I discovered Metallica. I don't know how many of you guys listen to heavy metal or know who Metallica is, but anyway, Metallica is this heavy metal band, and I was listening to them, and I just got out of the kind of the hamster wheel of trying to solve why I felt that way and what I needed to do to get away from those feelings. And I listened, listening to Metallica, and I was like, this, something spoke to me. It was singing exactly the tune of what I felt. And I was so, I don't know, I was so relieved that somebody else got how I felt and that they were putting it out there. It was like I felt like I don't know, something about announcing that feeling and singing exactly the tune that I felt was so cathartic, and it was the best feeling in the world. And I thought, well, this probably isn't good, but it feels fantastic. It was the first time I felt like somebody got me. And I thought, well, you know, where's this going to go? Like, is really getting into it a good idea? But, you know, you're 13, like, who cares? Not thinking about the future. I don't have a mortgage, you know. But what was interesting is that I was so liberated just feeling what I was feeling without caring where it was going to go or how to get rid of it, or that's just what was happening for me. And I remember I went home, I went and bought that. I went to Tower Records, I bought that album, and I played that album the whole way through. I think I probably listened to it 3 or 4 times that day. And the most interesting thing is I just stopped every other process but that. All I was doing was taking in just the negativity, and it's all about being on heroin, and, you know, it's very negative. All I did was throw myself into that, and it was the best thing in the world. It was like one of my favorite afternoons, just angry, and I hated people, and I was just got into it with them. And the funniest thing, that evening I went and had the most peaceful evening. I went and hung out with my family, and I hung out with them without the irritation that I usually felt. There was absolutely no residue from the anger. All the things I was normally angry about, I wasn't tracking it. There was no grudge. I wasn't more angry is what I thought was going to happen. In fact, the anger was gone. And all of a sudden, I think I played backgammon that night, which was not really my thing. I just found myself content doing things that no 13-year-old normally wants to do. And yet all the feelings that I didn't think I could have were there. And that's what happens when people step back a little bit and stop trying to control what's happening and just look at, let the ebb and the flow happen inside of their minds. Is you can get completely into the negativity and you'll come out the other side. And you do it every day. You know, in order to leave the house, you have to stop thinking about your problems. You can't get out the house with your keys and whatever else you need. So it's something, but that affected me. That day affected me because I realized something pulls me back, and something, when I get pulled back, like a pendulum, when I swing the other way, everything's intact. I didn't feel like I needed to know how the future was going to play out. I didn't feel like I needed to get away from all the stupid people. I didn't need to fix the fact that nobody understood me. I didn't have to do anything. And that's what struck me in the way that Einstein got struck. Is that, you know, because Einstein and I are so similar, is that I realized I don't have to run the system, and I don't have to track. And when people that I work with I don't fix their single problem or their career problem. That's not my job. I don't have to. My job is to show them the system, and it's just a tiny dose of faith that the pendulum will swing the other way, and what life looks like in those moments, the feelings you have live over there, and they're, an afternoon away. They're a second away. So as soon as your thoughts shift, your life is not bound by whatever circumstances you thought it was bound by. All the feelings are living in there intact. It's like a cell. It's complete with all the elements. That was the most liberating feeling, and that's what people discover. Their peace of mind and their happiness is separate, and it's just your thoughts that tell you that the only way to get those is to have the kind of life that you think you need. And I'm saying, no, you've got to look and see all the feelings that you're looking for are already in there. And the only reason that you don't believe me or that you don't see them is because you're not interested in those. Because you're so oriented toward the problem. That's how badly people want those feelings, is they're willing to spend their life working to get whatever they think they need to have the feelings that they want. And I'm saying, you know what, they're already there. And the more people are interested in the fact that your mind provides you with those, maybe they're not the way that you want them. Maybe you want, for me, like I wanted to be more, I wanted to be less socially awkward. I wanted to be one of those mysterious people instead of one of those kind of vulnerable, submissive type. I felt like I want to be more commanding. I want to be a more interesting person at school. I don't really want to be the person that I am. But what's interesting is that didn't matter. All the things I thought mattered that I needed disappeared. And I realized this, such as I am, I can have all the feelings that I've been looking for. And you learn a little bit about that, and you will be less interested in the chase that you've been doing. And you have time on your side because you have physics on your side, because what I'm talking about, the fact that what you're looking for is there within the package that you have right now, is a truth. It's a truth, and it's a fixed thing. It's always going to be there. So to the degree that you look, you will realize this. You'll realize that truth. And what people find is that if there's something that they want, they come at it from prospects of what we're trying to get are very different when we're going about it from the peace of mind and the contentment. And when your mind is quieted down, looking at what you want and whether it still makes sense and how to do it, completely different thing. It's like when you what you're looking for, when people swing into the feelings that I was talking about, it makes sense for them to go about life in a different way. Some of the things they're chasing, it doesn't make sense for them to chase. How they're going about it doesn't make sense anymore. You just get not only a different level of feelings in terms of your quality of life, but a different level of idea. And that's why life, you're not getting what you're you're not getting any closer to what you want. Is first of all, you're looking, you're looking for the wrong thing. You're getting the cart before the horse. And when people are struggling and trying to fix something, when they really don't understand the problem, they're coming from a place where there is a problem, you're already contaminated. You're never going to get there. And to realize what you have going for you and come from a feeling of strength, that's where all the empowerment is. So let me stop and see if there's any questions, see what people, or if there's any comments. Anybody out there want to ask anything? Want to have anything they want to say?
If you're on Google Plus, you can type in questions in the box on the right-hand side of your screen. Just while we're waiting, something kept popping into my mind as you were talking, and it's a video that I was shown, 10 years ago at a workshop that I was at. We were told there were two basketball teams playing, and we were told to count the number of bounces that, like, let's say the blue team, every time they bounced the ball. And it was a really short clip, so they played it. And I get very focused. I was watching and counting and watching and counting. And at the end, they asked how many times you thought they bounced it, and did anybody want to say anything else? And, some people were like giggling about things, but most of us in the room were really intent on that thing we were focused on. So then they said, okay, now I just want everybody to sit back, relax, and I'm going to play the video again. And as the two teams were bouncing their basketballs around, there was a man dressed in a gorilla suit walking through. And I didn't see it at all. And when I saw this 10 years ago, my impression of it was, oh, right, well, you always find the evidence you want, you're looking for it. But in thinking about it in three principles terms, it's really, and what you were talking about, it really is a matter of, we get these ideas about ourselves or our relationships or whatever in our minds, and we're so focused on them, that's all we can see. But when we step back, we get to see the whole picture. And, it was, in that case, it was a big hairy gorilla walking through a team of basketball players.
Isn't it? It's amazing what you miss. So I love that. I love that example. I've heard that before. I think it's so funny how horrified people are that they've missed something, something so obvious that stands out. It's not like you see those at games all, like, it's not something you get used to, but it will, your mind, you're just getting a part of the picture. And so, but what's great is that once you're looking for it, once there's more than what I'm looking for, there's more information out there. What you see is, I had a client. We have an online course, and it's 8 one-hour lessons. And this woman had done the first 2 and then had to travel. And she said, I don't get this. I think I'm too intellectual, and I'm not understanding. And then she went away and she kind of stopped, trying to get everything at once. And it was so interesting because she said, I came back and I realized she hadn't watched any more of the lessons, but she said, I realized that I had been fixated on the one thing in the first lesson that hadn't made any sense to me. And what I realized when I travel is there's all these things that were clicking into place when I stopped fixating on the first thing. And she said, I used to do that in school, that I would, as soon as I got lost, the rest of the class, I might as well have left. I couldn't absorb any of it because I was so fixated. And she said, if I would have just left it, that's what she figured out. she needed to do that. When she got to college, there was too much. So she just said, I'll just get a C on the test and miss that. And she said, ironically, I absorbed so much more and on such a deeper level that her grades went from like, a C to straight A's. And she said, I'm actually trying less because I'm not fixated. I'm kind of interested in, well, what did I get? In the same way that people, once they look, well, do I have the feelings that I'm looking for, such as I am? So maybe that's possible. And once they're interested in that, that's what your life becomes about. That's what you're learning about. Is I want to learn about the peace of mind and seeing that people can be good enough just like me, and they start seeing other people, well, they're happy and they're awkward. I remember I realized that when I was 13. I was like, well, I don't know. I have my friend who looks kind of like a sellout to me. He was like, he'll be friends with anyone. He didn't care if they, he just was kind of happy-go-lucky. And it's like, well, he's not mysterious and everyone isn't trying to get to know him. He'll be friends with anyone. He's like easy. And he's really happy. And I don't know, he seems like, people like him, and you just start seeing, once you start looking for, maybe there's, gorillas, maybe there's something else besides what I'm fixated on. Maybe it's about something else. You realize it is about something else. And that's what these principles, are pointing to, is let me show you what it is about instead of what you've made it up to be about, because that's what explains the life you've lived. It's not because you're missing that. It's because you don't really get what life's about. And so it looks like you have to do whatever you've made up that you have to do. And it's so funny what you miss, and how many people are saying, like, I can't believe that I have, spent my life doing this. When, chasing this idea and trying to chase this life, when what I've been looking for is like, it's right here. That's a great story. Any other questions or comments people have? I'll tell this story. It's really kind of a stupid story, but it's, in a way, it's very profound, at least for me. I had these prescription sunglasses that were like so expensive that I couldn't even say out loud. Somebody asked me how much they cost. I couldn't even say it. I couldn't believe how much I spent on prescription sunglasses. But I was going, I was taking a trip, and I was going to be gone for 3 weeks, and we were going to Africa. And I really, I didn't know how hot it was in Africa, and if I was going to regret it. I don't know. Anyway, so I buy them, and I left them in my car one night shortly thereafter, and they got stolen. And I could not, part of my angst about them getting stolen was how much I'd spent on them. They just seemed so excessive and unnecessary. And anyway, I was, part of I was kind of resentful, and I was mad at myself because I literally looked at them before I got out of the car and thought I should bring those in. And then I didn't. And then I didn't lock the car, which my husband is constantly telling me to lock the car. And then I didn't. And of course they got stolen. I could not get past it. I mean, it was really like it. I'm not going to buy another pair, but then I didn't have another pair. And I don't know if you've ever worn sunglasses, but once you start wearing them and then you stop, the sun is brighter for you. So I'm like, every moment I'm thinking about it. Because I'm getting reminded of it. Every time I get in the car, every time it's sunny out. So what was so funny is, and I was so like, why can't I just let go of this? Like, things get stolen all the time. It's not like they were stolen, they didn't steal my car, but I was, I couldn't get past it. And I kept thinking, well, maybe I just need to buy some more to get out of this, because I can't stop thinking about it. And I'm resentful, and I'm mad that someone's out there. They probably sold them to a pawn shop for like $20. The funniest thing, I'm like thinking about it all the time. And the funniest thing happens. I'm finally like, I go out to my car, I'm driving, and I'm thinking, God, it is so bright out. And I loop back into it, and I'm like, well, I'm not buying another pair. And so I go back into that argument, and then I have this thought: there's someone out there wearing my sunglasses. I need to find them. Then I had this thought: whoever's wearing my sunglasses has a headache because they're my prescription sunglasses, and I don't know. Not that the thief is wearing them. In my mind, they were. And that brought me so much. I was like, that undid it for me. I got so much satisfaction. I don't even know if that's who's wearing them. They're probably sitting in a pawn shop somewhere, or some poor person that paid money for them that didn't steal them is wearing them and has a headache. But the funniest thing, completely took it away for me. I realized, well, I don't, in a way, I think I kind of forgave. I let go of the incident in the name of spite. Isn't the most saintly way to evolve about something. It's not exactly mature, but my point is that it undid itself. And as soon as I let go of it, I was like, who cares? People get things stolen all the time. Like, why do I need to analyze it? Whatever, things happen and you just move on. And it was so interesting because I saw that's how life is. You hang on to all of this angst because you think you have to figure it out and do something to solve it, and then all of a sudden you just, I don't know, the sky's clear and you swing the other way, and all of a sudden things are fine, such as they are. Maybe you wish you had sunglasses or a job or a husband, or I'm not trying to minimize. It's just, as soon as I looked, I realized it's fine that people steal. It's fine that things are fine such as they are. And that all of the answers and the answers to life happen as soon as you feel like you don't need answers. And that self-cleaning feature will clean anything, so that you can be driving around in whatever mind you have and whatever life you have, and have all of the feelings that you don't think are within reach for you. And that story to me was like the perfect, it just captured it. Anyway, I want to wrap up, Bonnie, so that you can make whatever announcements, but thank you for listening. For those of you who are still on this thing, thank you so much for listening, and I hope it's been helpful.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your talk and the stories. Thank you so much, Erika. Really, really loved it. So I just wanted to mention, for anybody who doesn't know, that the 3PGC does have an annual conference, and this year it's coming up in October 27th to the 30th. And it's in the Los Angeles area, and you can learn more about it if you go to 3principlesconference.org, and 3 is spelled out. So 3principlesconference.org. And let's see, the next webinar is on April 14th with Veronique Betta. And following that on April 26th is Erika's father, George Pransky. So I hope you can all join us then.
Thank you. Can I just say,
Yeah.
and I don't get any kickback for saying this, but if I cannot say enough good things about these 3PGC conferences. They will change you. They will do something for you that, I mean, I'm biased, obviously. I've been doing this work my whole life, so forgive me, but they will do things for you that no other conference will. Conference is, all of the speakers are pointing to the same truth. And it doesn't even matter what room you stumble into and who you sit and listen to. Every moment they're talking about what we're pointing to. And it's a little tiny moment of learning about the kind of truth we're pointing to can change everything. It's in my opinion, it's the most powerful thing you can learn, and a single unit of learning in the direction that we're talking about has more impact than anything else you can learn about, anything else you can think about or do. And I just, I think they usually have a streaming option if you can't go. Somehow, if there's a way to participate, I cannot endorse it enough. I hope at some point we get to where they can be free for people so that everyone can go to these conferences. So, and if you can't go to the conferences, listen to these webinars, but I just can't recommend them enough.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying all that. And I do think that this year they're doing a full live stream option, or maybe it's just the large rooms. I'm not sure, but there is an option for the live streaming this year, which is great. Yeah, yeah. And I had the same experience. I learned about the three principles, and a week or two later, I went to a conference. It just something struck me, and I went, and it was I never looked back. It was a conversation I wanted to stay in. So.
And it's worth, if you stream it, clear your schedule for those 3 days. Turn off your phone, close your door. It doesn't even matter what time zone you're in. It's really worth the time. If this webinar has done anything for you, that those conferences, a couple of days, that when your mind gets quiet and you start seeing bigger picture, and then each talk builds on itself. It just it's really the answer to everything. You just haven't seen how yet, and it's worth clearing your schedule and shutting your door and telling your friends you're at a conference, even though you're at your house. So I know it sounds funny. Totally worth it if you can't go in person.
Absolutely. So thank you everyone who joined us live and who's going to listen in the future, and we'll see you on the next webinar.
Thanks, Bonnie.